Hello and welcome to the Hispanic Patriot podcast, everybody. A weekly podcast broadcast live from a secret, undisclosed location in the heart of the great state of Colorado. My name is Nicholas Razzo, and without further ado, our fearless patron over here, Hugo Chavez Ray. Give it up for the Hispanic Patriots, everybody. The Hispanic Patriot podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday, the day the Hispanic Patriot podcast hits the air. And we are here with you for the next hour. Hopefully, you will enjoy what we've got. We've got a whole array of subjects to talk. Some are a little bit more somber than others, but we always want to bring you the current news. So we begin tonight with, of course, the latest in the round of shootings that are taking place around the world, around the country even. And the shooting at Fort Stewart. Some soldier just went berserk, it looks like, and decided to shoot up some of his fellow soldiers. But let's play a clip on that because it's another horrendous event. Luckily, more people weren't hurt.
This morning, an active shooter has placed Fort Stewart, Georgia, on lockdown. Here's what we know right now. The lockdown is in the 2nd Armor Brigade combat team area. All gates on Fort Stewart remain closed. Schools in the area were also on lockdown with the directive from the commander. Law enforcement is on scene right now with reports of casualties. We can confirm that 5 soldiers were indeed shot. The shooter has been arrested, and there is no active threat to the community. But parts of the Army base remain on lockdown, particularly those directly connected to that shooting. Fort Stewart is the largest Army base east of the Mississippi River, known for being the home of the 3rd Infantry Division and other units. The base plays a critical role in training and military power projection. We will continue to follow this story and bring you more information as it becomes available. Thank you for watching.
All right. And that was yesterday. And I just noticed that somebody changed my name to Nicholas Razzo.
Oh, man, did we switch each other? Look at that. I'm the Boomer today. He's the Millennial today. Feels like that kind of day.
No, we're both Nick Razzo.
Oh, no. No, we can't have Nick Razzo clones running around. We can't have that.
Oh, my God.
We can't have that.
I don't know what we're doing here.
That's some humor for this horrible story, honestly, because, it reminds me of, I study the foreign policy. I study the wars going on, and you see this kind of stuff in the Indian and the Pakistani armies, the Chinese army. You see this in the Russian army a lot, where soldiers just go crazy and shoot their commanders because they make them go through horrible stuff. But I think we got to talk about the mental health of our soldiers. And I think this would be a great time to shout out our good friend, Adam Dorito, who is being commissioned right now at the Air Academy. We're very much happy for him. But his message, hey, Adam, congratulations.
Well,
you worked hard for it.
I think it's at 7 o'clock, but yeah.
That's true. But that's the thing at the end of the day is we are putting our soldiers through mental stress, a lot of mental stress that they don't need, that is unconducive to war fighters. Adam's talked about this, and I think that stuff like this is just proof of concept, ultimately. We need to be treating our soldiers better.
Well, luckily, we had some hero soldiers who intervened and stopped this horrendous event from being even worse.
By with us throughout the breaking news. Just want to alert our viewers, we've got new video outside of the hospital there where Steve Harrigan was reporting top of the hour that we were able to see 2 of the 5 soldiers who were shot, transported to the area hospitals on stretchers. We are praying, Joe, for their condition. We just don't have any further information, but we are hoping for the absolute best. But we do know 5 of those soldiers were shot. As we wait more information on the shooter, your thoughts, Joe?
Well, once again, I'm just, kudos to the military for the quick, you have an active shooter at just before 11, and then right about an hour, a little after an hour later, you have
I thought that was a full frame effort.
So that says a lot for a base that size. I mean, it's a city within a city right there. So I my hat's off to them, and just let the process play out right now, because there's a lot of questions that have to be answered. The weapon and everything else, as we spoke to before. And I don't know whether this hospital is the one that's on the base, and if not, that means they transported them to another hospital that's probably a level higher than the level 4 that Wynn has. So the families are probably notified at this point, and this way everybody is, understanding that this is the process that has to play out, whether it's on an Army base or off an Army base.
Just want to just make sure
I think it's 2:30.
Yeah, and Joe, we do have the information on that. They were treated on site on the base. The wounded were then taken to the Memorial Health University Medical Center in Savannah. And to your point, that hospital is a top-level trauma center for coastal Georgia. So they are in good hands, Joe.
Excellent. And you know what? I think at 3:30, when the military gives their statement, I think you're going to get the answers that you need and which way this investigation is going. They'll try to put a rhyme or reason to it without giving out too much. And like I said, I think things will start to come into play. The past of this individual, anything that he may have planned, or is this just spontaneous? Did he have problems with these individuals? We don't know, but I'm sure we will get the answers to that.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
Yep. Okay, Sean, we'll see you later.
Right. I mean, this could have been a Gomer Pyle type situation. You know what I mean? As we just don't know right now. But we will be bringing that to you guys because the motivation will be very interesting.
Yeah, it's the good thing about it was that there were some soldiers who sprung into action, intervened, and prevented this thing from becoming more of a tragedy than it is.
Because as far as we know right now, there is nobody killed. Is that correct?
Yes, no casualties as of
Thank God for
now.
that.
We pray that that holds, and then we'll be learning more about this individual and what his motivations were, and it's just a horrific event in any sense, but
Yeah.
especially when it's our military, that really hits home, and I don't like to see that happening on our bases. I am going to be really watching this story because I want to know, was this individual a homegrown terrorist that happened to get into the service and
Like with Fort Hood.
Yep, Fort Hood. Well, that guy in Fort Hood was there a long time, and he was an officer.
Yeah, it's radicalized. It really goes to show anybody can change, like Rocky Balboa said.
Yep, he got radicalized, and it was just a situation where he planned it out and ended up doing some horrific things there at Fort Hood.
So we got to keep a lot of prayers for all of our soldiers who were hurt, especially since that somebody sergeant is going to walk into that hospital room and go, son, you're not getting a Purple Heart for this.
Yep.
Soldiers, gotta love it.
I just saw our good friend George Rodriguez has joined us, so we'll go ahead and bring him in. He's always got some good insights on all these situations. So let's bring George in. George, how are you?
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you for coming. Now we had a last minute cancellation, and I'm glad you were able to help us out and fill in.
My pleasure. Anytime.
As you saw there, probably that we were talking about the Fort Stewart shooting, and the tragedy of that, and what may or may not be responsible for setting this guy off. So it's going to be a developing story, but so far no casualties, so that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Yep. And so hopefully we'll see. And the soldiers that intervened, I heard, got medals today.
Really?
Yep.
Excellent.
They didn't waste any time.
Well, attacking a military base is like attacking a police station.
Enemies foreign domestic at that point.
Yeah, it's not a wise thing unless it's a political thing. And I keep wondering if this guy was politically radicalized.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Just like that guy at Fort Hood a while back.
Yes.
So my concern is a Gomer Pyle situation where someone was just pushed too far, and we haven't seen that in a long, long time.
Right.
But with the mentality and the mental problems that a lot of young people going into the military have, we can't rule it out. We don't want that to be the case. But regardless, our prayers are with those recovering from their wounds.
It's an interesting analogy that you use. I haven't heard that Gomer Pyle reference. What
All right.
are you talking? Are you thinking about the guy
Full
in
Metal Jacket,
Full
exactly.
Metal Jacket?
Full Metal
Yeah,
Jacket. Yeah, we haven't seen that in a long time, but it was, it
yeah,
was common during the Vietnam War in a lot of cases,
It
and we
was.
are seeing that right now. Mental health is a huge problem. That's why we shouted out Adam Dorito, our friend who talks about this a lot, and we will be looking forward to pushing strong minds on the military establishment. We need that for our soldiers too, and let our soldiers grow beards.
yeah.
They
And
can get the gas
speaking,
mask on just fine.
and I hate to continue this theme, but speaking of violence, I mean, did y'all hear about Big Balls? What happened to
Yeah,
him?
we didn't think we'd mention him again on this show, but I remember, Hugo, your words specifically. We will be keeping an eye on Big Balls.
I didn't mean it.
But
But
that's
that's
where he is now. That's
President Trump is threatening a federal takeover of D.C. after police say a former Doge employee was brutally beaten in the nation's capital.
Lucas Tomlinson is live in Washington with the latest for us. Lucas?
Well, good morning, Ainsley. Big Balls bloodied. The 19-year-old former Doge staffer beaten by a violent mob of minors in the nation's capital in a popular part of town. According to police, a 15-year-old male and a 15-year-old female were arrested and charged with unarmed carjacking. The attack prompting President Trump to post, "Crime in Washington, D.C. is totally out of control. Local, quote, youths and gang members, some only 14, 15, and 16 years old, are randomly attacking, mugging, maiming, and shooting innocent citizens. The most recent victim was beaten mercilessly by local thugs." Trump warned if crime is not dealt with properly, he may be forced to take over.
Somebody from Doge was very badly hurt last night. You saw that. A young man who was beat up by a bunch of thugs in D.C. And either they're going to straighten their act out in the terms of government and in terms of protection, or we're going to have to federalize and run it the way it's supposed to be run.
We had a congressman from San Antonio, Cuellar, who was carjacked in D.C. about 3 years ago. So what was amazing was that not too much was said about it. Of course, that was in the heels of the defund the police and the excusing,
burning down of things.
Yeah, well, they were excusing. I mean, what we've gotten to is where we excuse these little thugs because of income and race. And I mean, we need to call it out.
Time to talk about it. No, it's very true, especially when you know the age in these stories. You know exactly who it is, and that's sad. That's a pathetic situation for our country. And I know that the liberals are going to hem and haw and say, "Oh, Trump's a dictator. He wants to make his own little capital." Blah blah. It's like, you guys have control of DC literally for over a century. Over a century, you've had every ability to make this a safe place, and you haven't. So if President Trump has to do that, you made it happen.
We had that.
You okay?
Yes, you can. We can see you and hear you just fine, Hugo.
Okay, because I had a thing that popped up said I was backstage and my mic was muted.
No, you're all good. But that's the thing, we did say it's amazing that we would keep an eye on this guy, and he turned out to be a young hero. And I'll tell you, George, a lot of young people today, they want to be heroes. They want to do something like this. They want to be put into these situations so they can do some good and show that the world's not a terrible place. You got people who will protect you. It's terrible that Congressman didn't get protection, but now that Trump's back in office, they're going to start seeing protection for the little guy.
Well, if I understood correctly, he was intervening in a young woman being carjacked, and then they jumped him. Is that the correct story?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's why she was hurt as well.
Yeah, she was. And then the other woman back in Cincinnati that was brutally beaten. This stuff has to get some attention because the police are kind of really frustrated nowadays. They're
Yes.
Well, they don't know
these young people. It's these youngsters.
It's true.
They do not get any kind of discipline at home. They are not taught any social skills. They certainly don't get it at school. We had here in Texas this past legislative session, we passed the voucher program, which allows people to take vouchers and leave a bad school district. And one of the things that was, besides the academics, was the public safety in those schools that they wanted to leave, because there is no discipline in those schools, and there's no discipline at home. There's no discipline at the school. So, you had the teachers union, and you had a lot of civil rights people screaming and yelling. Well, then they don't send their own kids to those schools because their kids get beat up. These kids are running wild, and they're not afraid of anything. There is no consequence for their misbehavior.
No, there isn't at all. And I saw that when I was in high school. And Hugo, I'm sure you had a very different experience in your high school.
Yeah, we didn't have the thuggery going on back when I was in high school. We were all mellow fellows.
Well, y'all would get your butts beat if you weren't. You know what I mean? By your parents, and by the school, and by the police, and by everybody else.
You didn't. The ones that were delinquent weren't there for long.
No, they got
exactly.
They got rooted out.
Yeah, they got rooted out, and that's unfortunately that's the situation that we've got in public education right now. Is that you've got students that want to go to school to learn, but they are not allowed by the kids that don't want to learn, who create disruptions and who require all the attention that everybody else gives them.
And the resources, it should be said, because these kids often eat up resources. I mean, I've seen it in my own high school. The kids who are doing well, who if they got a little bit of attention could be excellent, they are struggling because all the teachers are too busy with kids who have no interest in learning. And it is a huge problem, because I'll tell you something. I see this pushed on young minority kids, that you act like a thug and you act stupid because it makes you not white.
Exactly.
It's a disgusting differentiator. It's like, you know what? We're meant to be black, Hispanic, whatever we are. We're not supposed to be this so that we can say, oh, I'm not white. If you're not pro, if you're only anti, you're always going to be a negative kind of human being.
Exactly.
You can't have that.
And the other issue is, of course, the laws that prevent these young thugs from getting prosecuted thoroughly. I mean,
there's just free range from 14 to 8.
Don't think for a moment they don't know that. That's why they go out and commit these crimes, because, in fact,
they're not afraid.
The older gang members recruit these youngsters to go out and do some heinous things, because they know that if they get caught, they're only going to maybe be in the system for 3 or 4 years, and then they're out.
The older patrons that own them can essentially, pay money for them and everything. It's terrible.
I think it was Pam Bondi that, maybe I'm incorrect on that, but I heard one of the attorney generals or somebody say that they need to lower the age of accountability to 14.
Yes,
I would say so.
You heard about that? And I think that's great, because nowadays, by the time a kid is 14, if he's on the streets, he is darn sure a thug. He's true. Thoroughly trained, probably started at 11 or 12. And by the time they're 14, they are, just thoroughly indoctrinated into that system. And they don't care. They have no qualm about killing. They have no qualm about beating people up, taking their property, carjackings.
It's easier when they're young. I mean, we see this in Africa. Ask a Vietnam veteran how many, young people, 12, 14 years old, who are in the Viet Cong. This is something that's happened for a long time. Kids capable of killing since the beginning of humanity. We've forgotten that, because we coddle our kids and we pretend they're harmless until they start hurting other kids. And that's
like the bleeding hearts are going to scream bloody murder. They're going to say, oh, we can't do that to our children. These are our children.
These aren't our children. These are your children. Your Democrat-controlled, Democrat-created monoculture children. And George, I want to say I really commend you for something. You and Hugo, you made this point very clearly, that they're using these young kids. I want to add to that these young kids don't need to live that life. The old school gangster life of the 60s and 70s, you don't need to live that life. Okay, maybe in a time when there was a lot of racial tension, maybe there was a reason this all happened. But I'm seeing these baby gangsters who are living the life when they could get a regular job. It's disgusting, and I don't want to see it anymore in my generation.
There is no excuse for it. I mean,
no, be knights and shining armor. Don't be thugs.
They have been taught the Marxist, racist ideals that they can't make that. The American dream does not exist, and so therefore they need to do what they
Take
can
it violently
to assert themselves. And the fact of the matter is that you don't start at the top. You start at the bottom and you work your way up, but you work, and that's the difference. These kids are expecting somehow to become influencers on social media, and somehow to be well known, to be well respected in their terms. And this is the problem that we've got. I mean, there is no one countering that narrative. No one.
I have a very interesting story to share about that.
I think young people are going to start to do that.
I have a stepson who a few years back he had a scholarship, full ride scholarship to Seattle University. Very bright kid. He got his degree, came out, and then couldn't get a job right away, and so he went ahead and got his master's. And then when he went looking for work in between the two degrees, he was talking to his mom, and she says, "Well, there were job offers, but I didn't know I had to start at the bottom." And my wife looked at him and says, "So you thought you were just going to walk into a new job and you were going to be the boss, huh?" Then, okay. So
I thought I'd be at least commissioned as a lieutenant.
He woke up, but he got his master's, and then he did get hired by Ernst & Young, which is an international firm. Now he is a boss after working 10 years.
But that's the difference. When you put in the
work,
to be a boss
yours.
Now?
Oh, he does, and he's looking forward to breaking out and starting his own company. He says, "I'm tired of making millions for others." so I want to make millions. I said, "Well, that's the way you do it.
But that's the biggest
you
thing.
Get your feet wet. You get your ground under you. You get some experience, and then you go ahead and develop your own enterprise and take it wherever you want to take it. That's the American dream. I mean, it's there for anybody that wants to put in the work.
But not for thieves. That's the biggest thing we got to say. It's not for thieves.
Not
if
going
you
to be
steal,
handed
it's not
to
gonna,
you.
Exactly. If you steal something, it's never yours. It is never yours. If you work for it, it is.
Yep. And these youngsters that are out there,
this is the other thing they don't understand: the self-respect.
Yeah,
that's true.
Well, that's the thing. Well, not just self-respect, but respect for others, and in particular, respect for elders. There is none among some of this generation.
The gangster culture, no, not at all.
It's like, they think that people like me and you, George, are just, worthless, and
but we don't know any better.
You guys can't stay posted on the corner. You guys can't stay posted on the corner earning them bags. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying, homeboy?
We don't know
like,
the reality. That's what I'm always told. You don't know what real life is like. No, of course not.
No, we don't know anything.
Well, and that's what we should say is that I think this would be a good tie-up note is that these people don't live in our Western Christian culture. They live in an isolated culture that's only theirs, and they need to learn there is so much bigger out there. It reminds me of a song from the Soul days, is that they've learned how to stick together and make dollars, but they need to learn how to sacrifice and live right. Then they'll be okay again. We can save these kids. I know we can save not all of them, but I know we can save many of them.
So this kid, Big Balls, has demonstrated some big balls.
He really did. I mean, he earned his name.
He went up against 12 alone.
12? Can you imagine?
12.
That's crazy.
12 thugs, and he held his own.
He's still alive, exactly.
The best that you could do under those circumstances. He survived, and now he's a cult hero.
And there's a girl that was involved in it. There was a girl that was
damsel in distress.
She was part of the thugs.
A girl that was arrested that was in that crowd that was doing the attacking.
That's true. We need to mention that.
It's very similar to that attack that took place in Cincinnati the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Again, where females were involved, and on the wrong side. I mean, these are not damsels in distress. These are not fainting women. These ladies are thugs as well. And what are they? I mean, what kind of mothers? What kind of
role models at all?
Role models can they be for daughters?
No, they're out of control. I feel for a lot of the parents because they do end up unable to control these
Yes.
young thugs. And the thing about it is that the strong ones will definitely step up and set their kids straight. And it kind of reminds me of the story of Ben Carson. Have you seen his movie? Have you seen the movie of his life?
He started out that kind of way.
He grew up in a bad side of town in Chicago, and
like many of us have.
The gangs tried to recruit him. His mom was a stern disciplinarian, and boy, she steered him straight. And when he tried to kind of veer off the path, she would set him straight. She said, "You will not be a part of that. You will not be co-opted into that lifestyle." She says, "You will get an education and you will succeed." And, the rest is history. He's a brain surgeon, But his mom, if you ever get to see the movie, I'm trying to remember the name of it now. I think it's Gifted Hands is the name of it.
That's what it is, actually.
And it's a really powerful story because he could have been one of those that got co-opted by the gangs. But because of the strength of his mother, he didn't have a dad there, but the strength of his mother, she kept him out of that lifestyle. And to this day, he always praises his mother.
You could go down that route instead.
I don't know about you, Hugo, but in my life, now I was born and raised here in San Antonio. And as soon as I graduated from high school, I left. And then eventually I worked in the Reagan administration and then the Bush administration and then the second Bush administration. I stayed in DC and then I did all sorts of other stuff. So anyway, what's been very curious to me is that some of my oldest friends from high school and junior high that stayed here in San Antonio have judged me as having lost touch with reality and with the roots of the neighborhood because I got up and I left. And that's really, really, I've got one particular friend who is a very, very active Democrat precinct chair on the south side of town. And he, the fallout with him began when he learned that I became Tea Party president in San Antonio. I mean, you can imagine, thinking about, here is a Hispanic being a Tea Party. And
back in 2010, that was pioneer territory.
Oh my gosh. And and that's been the situation. I've heard people describe it as the crab syndrome, where they pull each other down rather than allowing each other to flourish. The best thing that I could have done. And then not only that, but I also studied in Mexico City, where I was able to see how a third world country goes. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, when I was working in the Bush administration, I got an opportunity to go with Jack Kemp to the old Soviet Union as it was falling apart.
Oh, God.
That was an eye opener to see the Soviet system in person. Yeah. I mean, it was incredible. It was like visiting the other side of the moon. I mean, it was incredible.
It was alien culture.
Yeah, people don't have an idea of what
they have no idea.
No,
they have no idea what we've got because they've never been beyond, our borders. In some cases, not beyond their state borders.
Well, and that is most people.
Yeah, really. I mean, we have no idea what we've got.
But you and I, George, are coconuts.
Yes.
Oh no! I want to say this for speaking of the young Hispanic generation here, that I do see a lot of, even in what I would describe it, not gangster culture, nothing like that. I see aspects of this Marxism seeping in, and I think the disrespect to the elders is a big part of that because there's well, you're not useful anymore. Well, this utilitarianness is not Christian. We have to say first of all, but the most important point, and this is really what I want to hammer home, is that we've lost continuity with ourselves and our roots. So I really am offended by those people who suggest that you're out of touch, George, because really when you get to our attitude, this is in touch. This is in touch. It may look like we're doing something different. It's because we found out we have to do something different. Yeah. We've been voting Democrat for decades and decades, and it's gotten us squat. Their history is racist and terrible. We ignored that for decades, and we're done ignoring things. So us young guys, I want them to see you older Hispanic gentlemen who paved the way as the pioneers, the same way as the Western people, the North, where everyone who went to the West that we live in today. You are blazing the trail for us young people to be something more than illegal immigrants, something more than thugs, and something more than just a bunch of, workers.
Yeah. Let me share with you real quick
I wanted to use a different word, but I held back.
The situation that I have seen, particularly in the wake of the Trump victory, what I am seeing here in South Texas with the Hispanics, with the young Mexican Americans, is what I have seen is that so much of the lack of understanding that Hispanics, particularly Mexican Americans, have been in the country for generations. And what we're seeing more and more now, it is the same immigrant experience that other immigrant groups have gone through, where they came across, first generation, had trouble adjusting, second generation adjusted, and the third generation is just really becomes American. The big difference between Mexican Americans and other immigrants was that there have been so many because the country is next door instead of across the Atlantic. And so what has happened in this time is that after generations of Mexican Americans becoming Americans, they now all of a sudden look around and they hear the message that is just so alien from the Democrats. First of all, the culture, the Mexican culture is very, very much still alive. And one of the great foolish scenes that I saw, and I wish I would have taken photographs of it, a video of it, was when Democrats came into a South Texas town, a small South Texas town, with Beto O'Rourke, and he had in tow 2 lesbians. You can imagine. Now, I don't care who you sleep with, as long as you don't throw it in my face. But here he had them in tow, and he went to a VFW to speak to macho former Marine Mexicans. Can you imagine, Hugo, how that went over?
I think they thought that the girls were there for a much different purpose.
A lead balloon.
Yes. And then on top of that, they requested that the American flag be removed. Can you imagine how that
to men who would die for that flag
in a VFW?
At a VFW. Now that to me was typical of why the Democrats were going downhill.
How to lose friends and alienate people.
That was 4 years ago when Beto was running. It went downhill from there.
Please tell me that they threw him out on his ass.
It went downhill from there because the Democrat machine, then they opened up the border. And, historically, the Mexican Americans close to the border have been very, very much antagonistic towards illegals. And the reason being because, again, the Democrats didn't understand it, the Democrats from Massachusetts and New York don't care, but they always have historically competed with Mexican Americans for jobs. Mm-hmm. And so they opened up the border, and it wasn't just Mexicans that were coming across. It was Venezuelans. It was people from the Congo, from Sudan,
China, Somalia, Russia, God knows
one
where.
Of the worst, one of the great moments again that I saw was 3 years ago when Laredo, Texas is a plaza which was well known because of mariachis and because of romantic couples and everything else, was chock full of Haitians. And the Haitians were defecating and trashing the whole park. You can imagine how the local folks felt. It was one thing after another that the Democrats just ignored completely and totally the culture, the community, the sense of being American and proud, the veterans, completely ignored South Texas Mexican Americans. And then they wondered why they lost. Then they wonder why they lost, why South Texas went red.
And
Well,
they
and
still,
also,
they're still doubling down.
Yeah, wait till the congressional elections next year. I mean, it's going to get worse.
We're gonna be talking about that in a minute. But
the last thing I'll say about that is just this is also a national security issue, and we Hispanics care about our country and our national security very much. We're in the military in very high regards, and so far, 13 FSB agents from the Russian ministry have crossed the border. We don't want that. We don't want terrorists crossing the border. As
they
it turns
just came
out,
to work.
Hispanics. Yeah, according to the Democrats for Donald Trump, yeah, we got that disproven. But please, Hugo.
Their work seems to be undermining the government, but they are working. Yes.
Yeah. So we're going from alligator Alcatraz to federalizing D.C. and the liberals are losing their mind.
Oh, they're losing their mind.
I might be canceled for this, but I would happily put all of Congress in a concentration camp so long as they do their job. They'll do their. It'll be comfortable. It'll be comfortable. It'll be a nice, it's so they can concentrate on their work.
I want you to debate Joy Reid. I would like to debate Joy Reid with that comment. Just starting with that comment.
You've got a real tool down there in Jasmine Crockett.
Oh my!
I was just about to.
I mean,
another
case. I mean, she makes Maxine Waters look good.
Look smart. Yeah, really.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
The next generation of Democrats is not better than the last.
Can you imagine if Trump actually could federalize D.C.?
Oh my gosh!
Why the heck not? I mean,
it is a federal district.
Well, he could do it. I mean, it's just
people just don't want the trouble.
And yelling would go, but he could do it. Yeah,
yeah, and it would serve him right.
Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you about is I saw you on the Univision
last night.
Yes. Órale, Univision.
Yep. And so talk a little bit about that and what your interaction was with that lady. Now I forget what she was representing.
She was a liberal. She's a liberal Democrat.
Yeah, I knew that part, but who's she with? Is she with a group?
No, she's what they do once a week is they and it's various people. They have me on to debate various Democrats from across the country or Democrat political operatives. This lady who happened to be from Miami. She is very involved with the teachers union, and she is a political activist. Okay. And the discussion was foremost about the Democrats from Texas that have fled to Illinois and New York to avoid voting here in Texas.
This is why I left Illinois.
Yeah. Well, they fled to Illinois, accusing Texas of gerrymandering when Illinois is gerrymandered.
Yeah, out of all the places to go to prove the point,
I put on Facebook a little comment and it really lit a firestorm. I said, so when Democrats do it, it's redistricting. Correct. But when Republicans do it, it's gerrymandering. And boy, I am getting blasted from so many liberals. I'm loving it. I lit a firestorm. I think we had over 1,500 responses already. And I've been firing back. I said, well, what's the matter? You like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Mm-hmm. Well, you're not supposed to do what we do.
Think about it this way. You won't have to spend a dime in Texas ever again, Democrats.
Yeah, that's it.
And I've got a little clip. I've got a little clip I want to play about this topic because I think it brings up a subject that a lot of people are ignoring, and that is the financial cost of this.
Welcome to the show. What is the real cost of the Great Escape? It's over $1 million, Stuart, when you add up everything that it cost for them to get here, but what it's costing Texas taxpayers back home because they are not in the Lone Star State doing their work. They took 2 private charter planes here. They're spending money on 50 hotel rooms for 25 days at a rate of around $200 a night. 50 rooms for 25 days costs over $250,000. But they say it is all coming from donations, not from taxpayers back home. The Texas Democratic Caucus giving me this in a statement, quote, "The charter flights were donated to the caucus. The hotel and other expenses are being paid for by a combination of members' campaign accounts and caucus fundraising. 0 state dollars or taxpayer dollars are going into this."
And I'm going to have something to say about that because from what I heard, that is highly illegal.
Work, but that math does not add up. It is costing taxpayers, as Texas Democrats being here means that Governor Greg Abbott has to call a special session over and over again. That costs Texans $1 million every time he does it if it's a full 30-day session. And also, legislators here are still getting paid over $7,000 a year. They do pick up $221 in per diem every day they are in session. So I caught up with the chair of the caucus, Chris Turner, yesterday, and he says they are actually working harder here in D.C. than they would have been back home.
What a joy.
Surprise.
Are you guys going to forfeit part of your salary by spending time up here and not participating in the business of the Texas legislature, which is your job?
We're doing our jobs. We're fighting for our constituents, being here.
So this is where the press is allowed to ask questions.
We're both legislators and we have the top.
What your message is to Texans who can't just not show up to work and still get a paycheck. Do you have a message to Texans?
We are working hard every single day for our constituents.
And Stuart, there's also other costs to
look like
Texans.
you
They're
are.
not only stalling a vote on voting reforms back home by being here, but they're also stalling votes on critical legislation that would give more funding to law enforcement agencies, an extra check to retired teachers, and also protections that they're trying to pass that would protect kids in foster care as well. Stuart?
The gentleman there did not seem really willing to answer your questions of any kind. I mean, is that because you're with Fox, or is it just they were embarrassed by what they were doing?
Well, before that exchange, I actually asked Chris Turner. I introduced myself. I told him I was with Fox. I said, "Can I walk with you and chat for a little bit?" He said, "Great." He never told me that he didn't want to answer, but after my first question, one of his pals came over and tried to stop me from continuing to ask follow-up questions. But at no point did Chris Turner ever tell me that he had to go, that he didn't want to answer questions. So it was someone else interjecting.
Fair enough. It was a good.
Imagine that. So, I forget who said it, but it may have been the Texas Attorney General that said that they're looking into how these people's expenses are being paid.
Yeah.
And that it was illegal for them to use campaign funds for anything related to this.
Yeah, this isn't the campaign.
And if they do, that they can be prosecuted. And then there was someone else that brought up that Beto is involved in this.
Yeah, he's raising money. He was in Oklahoma today raising money for them.
Right. So
can't squeeze
the
it out
other
of Texas,
part
I
of,
guess.
the other side of that coin was that they said if they're taking money from donors to fund their expenses, that's tantamount to bribery.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds.
This is the third time. Hugo, that they have fled.
Yep.
They initially did it about 8 years ago. They did it once before over the issue of voting rights. They did it a second time about 4 years ago over voting rights as well. The first time it did work. There were a lot of folks that backed down, a lot of Republicans. Last time they did it during COVID, the Republicans didn't back down, and what they were boycotting eventually passed. It was a reform. It was a redo of voter eligibility.
Right.
In the face of the COVID dropping off, blank ballots, the state of Texas said, no more dropping off. You've got to bring it. You've got to mail it in, or you've got to bring it. And
chain of custody.
Yeah. And so hopefully this time around, they're not going to, I mean, they could stay out, and then eventually the state legislature will reconvene. And if they're not there, they will go ahead and vote, and they just vote, let them vote in absent. Now, they have said that they're only going to stay out another 14 days. Well, we'll see. Let's
Your
see.
word isn't worth much right now.
So what? I read something else about a movement or a motion of some kind to literally remove them from their positions.
Yes.
Is that feasible?
Well, it's, there's all sorts of things that could be done, including arresting them and removing them. Removing them will only happen if they stay out too long, beyond which is reasonable. The governor and the attorney general have the right to determine when it is, when it's no longer feasible that they can be out, that they've got to return and do the work that they're supposed to be doing. And, at that point, then they can convene. Now, another thing that we're also watching is that we've got a lot of radical groups in Austin. Austin is the most liberal city in Texas.
Yeah, it's the Boulder of Texas.
Yeah, and some of those groups are claiming that even if the legislature fully convenes, that they are going to disrupt it.
So it's not going to end until the very end. And so, George, I want to ask you a question on
Good
that.
luck
I've
with
heard
that.
I've heard this in Texas more than other states. And so I wanted to ask you about that because, as far as I know the laws of many countries, and in many countries, if you as a legislator, especially an executive person, I know this is legislature, but in many places, if you flee the country, it's very obvious what you're doing. You instantly lose your office. This actually happened to the president of Ukraine 2 presidents ago. So why isn't there a law that says if or could be, I mean, it doesn't even have to pass. It could be a threat by the Texas Republicans that, look, if you flee the state for for this reason, that you will receive a penalty, whether it's the loss of your office
for the purposes of preventing a quorum. That's
exactly. Is that possible? Even if it's not set to pass, could the Republicans draft something like that?
Unfortunately, Texas Constitution is a result of the Reconstruction after the Civil War. After the Civil War, Democrats were completely on the out, and radical Republicans were running the place. It was actually the military. And when the occupation, the Union Act occupation, and you can tell that I was raised in South Texas, or in the South.
Just historical.
The occupation.
That's what it was.
When the Northern troops finally left, and Texas then reverted again to home rule, to real home rule, the Constitution that was written up protects elected officials tremendously. And so therefore, there is no real teeth at this point in punishment for a legislature that is making a political move, and this is a political move, to leave the state.
There's no mechanism. Basically.
There's no mechanism. Now,
you're too free over there.
Yeah. Once it exceeds, the time frame or the limits of the governor's patience, and it can be shown and proven that this is strictly politics.
But they ain't coming back.
And they're
well, they've admitted it. I've heard some of them say we're out here because we want to prevent a quorum.
Well, that's it. And see, and what's happening is beyond just holding off the voting of this of the redistricting. There's all sorts of other legislative priorities that are going on right now, such as the biggest one being funding assistance for the recent flood that we had here in Texas.
Well, they don't care about that at all.
And they're not. There's also the issue of of what you call it, of the budget that needs to be addressed. These things are also things that are not being addressed.
Well,
and
that
they're
makes
causing
me
problems.
wants me to ask you a question, George. Do you think this is nationally organized? Do you think this isn't just a Texas Democrat thing, but that the DNC itself is involved in some way, or how local do you think this is?
Yeah,
Yes.
there's some
These
national
people-
Democrats involved.
Yeah, these people have met and strategized with the DNC from the very, very beginning. I mean, from the
So
beginning.
you got
when they
another
first
occupation then.
Yep.
Yeah, from when they left, when from 8 years ago, I know that they've been meeting. They've it is. I mean, even George Soros has tentacles into this situation. So
there's
it's not,
no doubt that he's
Texas is
involved.
the golden apple everybody wants.
To frustrate and defeat Texas would be, their happiest moment.
Who didn't want Texas? The French wanted Texas. The Germans wanted Texas. The Spanish wanted
Everybody
Texas.
wanted
The Mexico. Everybody wants Texas, George. What is it about Texas? You're both from Texas. What is so great about Texas?
I'll tell you, it's 101 degrees here. I don't know. I don't know.
You could drive across it for 3 days and still be in Texas.
I would love to be in the mountains right now.
It was
Well, you're free to
95
visit
here
whenever
today.
you want.
So we had
It's
95
true. It's been close
degrees.
into hundreds
Yeah.
around here lately too.
But
I can only imagine how bad it is.
I
for
do
George
believe
down there.
that this is a I don't know, conspiracy. I think this is
it
really
is.
it's a conspiracy
it is a plot.
to try to undermine the Republicans in Texas.
Yep.
And I'm hoping against all hope that some of these Democrats in these Texas
Start to break
positions are in districts where it may backfire against them.
I think they will. I think it is.
I don't know how many there
Especially when
are.
this redistricting goes through, because it will.
I think the more bold ones are probably in safe, blue districts, but I got to believe there's some of those districts that are not happy.
Let me tell you, Hugo, that in the past 16 years, Texas has become redder and redder.
Yep.
So all of their efforts have been frustrated. I mean, after the after the Obama victory, after the Russia gate, after COVID, all of these things have caused Texas to go even redder. And this is another. I think it's going to be another one that's going to blow up in their face.
Yeah,
because
I do believe that. I
people,
think
people are seeing this for what it is. It's ridiculous. I mean,
Too obvious.
you lose. You lose
They're
your vote.
desperate.
You lose your vote.
They're desperate to get back control of the House,
That's
but I think things like this is going to make that literally impossible to them, because I had my predictions based on what I've been reading, the tea leaves, was and has been that that Republicans could gain anywhere from 10 to 15 seats in the House from where they are now. And that would solidify the House. And my prediction for the Senate is anywhere from 2 to 4 additional seats in the Senate. So
I love when Hugo has optimistic predictions, because he's usually right.
well, I mean, I pay attention to what's going on in different areas, and there are places where Democrats are desperate. I watch a lot of YouTube, trust me. And
Well, then, Hugo, I actually want to ask you a question while we have George here, actually, because how do you feel about this? Because you're born in Texas, or you're not born in Texas, my apologies. You grew up in Texas, and you live here in Colorado. How do you guys feel the fact that we live in a state where we're on the defensive? We are attacking, but we're on the defensive here in Colorado versus Texas. Do we feel jealous of George? Do we feel like we got to learn from what's going on? What can we in Colorado take
when
away?
I moved here
What's
in
going on?
'99, this state was red. Okay. And within 6 years of when I got here, the Democrats used the blueprint to take over the state, and people were caught asleep at the wheel. Now we're fighting to try to get it back. I still stand on my, my position that the Hispanic voter in Colorado is the key to turning this state red again. I'll lay it out there again for those of you out in the audience that haven't heard it before. 300,000 eligible Hispanic voters in Colorado who don't vote or are not registered.
Wow.
Okay? So
You believe that, George?
what would happen if we went out and recruited or turned at least 1/3 of those? That would mean an additional 100,000 votes for Republicans in this state. And then you go back and look at 4 or 5 cycles and show me how many races were lost by more than 100,000 votes. And you won't find many. Okay. So that tells me that if there is a concerted effort, and I get pushback from, certain Republicans that, God bless them, I love them, they're my friends, but they just don't get it. Okay, they just don't get it. They think I'm playing identity politics, and I'm not. It's fact. It's the fastest growing demographic. People, wake
Well,
up.
have
and
we
pay
seen that
attention.
in Texas, George? Have we seen the Hispanics help with that vanguard push for everything? Do you think that Colorado can learn from that?
Here, I mean, if you attend any Republican event here in San Antonio, you see a huge number of Hispanics involved.
Yeah.
You see many Hispanics involved. The biggest headache that we've got, the biggest challenge that continues, and it's not just here in San Antonio, or in Texas, it's going to be in virtually in most places, is the media. The media, the liberal mainstream media, continues to run to Democrats for the narrative. They never will ask. I mean, any issue related to immigration, they put the microphone and the storyline in front of the liberal Hispanics, the Democrats. And of course, poor this, poor that, they're victims. The Republicans are evil. The ICE is evil. The cops are evil. What we need to do is figure out how to get our common sense narrative out. And this is why I really think that, I try to play the role as much as I can of a Spanish-speaking Rush Limbaugh. I do.
That's a good description for you, George. And
it's really true. It's spot on.
People have said that about me. I just tell it like it is.
I mean, that's the thing. And what really surprising to a lot of these folks, I mean, the reason the Univision keeps getting me back on is because they keep getting a lot of positive letters about me. I mean, they're not getting, the cranks that are screaming and yelling, to boycott or to keep him off the air. They're getting a lot of people, which tells me
interesting that you mentioned cranks. We have a crank here in Colorado. He's a representative in Colorado Springs.
A real crank.
Crank. Jeff
Prankster.
Crank.
But George, that's quite interesting that you guys have so many victories in Texas. We want that here in Colorado. We want to have the media, because you're totally right. We got to remember what Andrew Breitbart said. Politics is downstream from culture. Guess who controls the culture? The media. Who wins every revolution? The one that controls the media. This is so constant. This is what we need to understand. Thank you, George, for that. That needs to be heard more often. It's the media, people.
All right, we're up against the clock, but let's turn to a very important topic that we have been planning here for at least 3 months, and we've got a big town hall coming up this coming Tuesday in Colorado Springs.
Check it out.
And it is called it's a town hall for the people and by the people. And we have 4 panelists that are guests for the show. And that is Mark Baisley, Senator Mark Baisley, Representative Scott Bottoms, Representative Ken McGrath, and newly elected in a special election, Senator Linda Zamora Wilson. We have our friend Jeff Hunt, who is from KNUS Radio, Salem Media, a guy who's going to be our moderator. And it's this Tuesday from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. We are live streaming the show. So I encourage everyone that can't make it in person to definitely tune in on all our platforms. We will be on YouTube, X, Rumble, Facebook. And we really want to have a good event. And the purpose of this event is I'm using this as a barometer to see how we're looking heading into the election cycle, which begins after Labor Day. And that is, I want to know what the people are thinking. In other words, I want to hear what kind of questions they ask, and that'll tell us what topics are at the forefront of their minds. And this won't be a scripted event where we've got pre-scripted questions. We want the audience to ask all the questions, and that'll give us a sense of where the mindset is of the voters. So, a town hall for and by the people, folks. Tuesday, August 12th at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time, and if you can make it in person, that's the best thing. But if you can't, definitely tune in to the live stream.
But you want to come meet us. You know that you want to.
And something I've been working on, George. I really want to. I want to invite you up here
I'd love to go.
to do a be a keynote speaker at an event that we put together. So that's something.
Let me know when. I'll be more than happy to do it.
Fantastic, okay. George.
That'd be perfect. Because
I have one question for you and George. Are you guys tired of winning yet?
No.
No,
not at all.
Nunca.
Nunca.
We never get tired of winning, folks. Never.
All right.
And we will
have a good one, gentlemen.
Y'all be safe. It's been a great show. Thank you for coming on, George, and sharing your thoughts and insights. And we look forward to the next time that we cross paths.
Anytime.
But in the meantime, we wish you the best.
Ready.
God bless you, and God bless Texas.
God bless Texas.
And Colorado.
Okay. You got it.
Take care, man.
Thank you, George. True gentleman right there. True gentleman.
A patriot.
And a Hispanic Patriot, which means he belongs on the Hispanic Patriot podcast.
George is definitely a patriot in the truest sense of the word.
He's fighting on the front lines, folks.
He's a
just
veteran.
Like we are.
He's been a Fox News contributor. Got his radio show on Salem Media. I mean, if you don't know George Rodriguez, El Conservador, I encourage you to look him up, and tune in. You can tune into his station from anywhere.
You will find that in the description below, along with our last interview with him.
Yep. So we're up against the clock, as I said, and we look forward to this Tuesday night. We'll be talking a lot about the results of our town hall.
We know we'll be seeing you there.
Yes, hopefully we'll see you there. But if you can't make it in person, make sure you see us on live stream. Thank you all. Good night, and have a fun weekend.
There you go. You got to remember to have fun, folks. Enjoy life.
That's
God
what
gave
want.
it to you for a reason. God gave it for a reason.
Take care, guys.
God bless you all. God bless America.